Well, hello, bits. So welcome to another review as read. Today we're talking about Tales of Heresy from the Black Library, and it's a short story compilation book that includes all these great authors right here. Go through the same process today. We're going to talk about the book. We're going to talk about the cons, the pros, and the conclusion. So let's get right into it. First, what the book's about. The book is from the Horus Heresy series from the Black Library. Now, if anyone want to know, Horus Heresy is a big event in the Warhammer 40,000 world. Their history is, and some others also call it Warhammer 30,000 because it happens 10,000 years before the current lore of the game. This is a short story compilation of these stories here, alright, and they adds a lot of flavor and background to the Warhammer 30,000 or the Horus Heresy. Let's get into the cons of the book first. The cons of the book is that because it is, like I said, background flavoring for the the Horus Heresy, you need to have a grounding in the history to truly enjoy a lot of these stories. Because a lot of it's like watching Transformers and the new remake of the Transformers and everything, the first ones at least, where you see Easter eggs and all that if you wouldn't understand it, if in fact it'll gloss you right by if you didn't watch the old cartoons and everything. Same thing here, if you didn't have a grounding in anything but science fiction, you understand the stories, but a lot of the feelings you get when they talk about something you would just pass you by. So I would say that having a grounding in the history of the Great Crusade, the Horus Heresy and all, is pretty important before you read this book. And the other thing, of course, like I always say with any compilation book, the fact that there are some stories that are better than others. There's just no doubt about it, because different authors, different writing styles and everything. But that being said, this one does a much better job than the last compilation book I read in the Horus Heresy series, which I reviewed. I'll put a link below. And this one, on average, all the stories are a good read. I'll give it away now, because let's move right into the pros of the book. Now, the pros of the book is pretty much this book. On average, all the stories are good. At worst, they are good. And at best, they are a must-read story to anyone who knows about the lore of the Horus Heresy and Warhammer 40,000. This book adds so much knowledge to your current. If you let's say you only read all about the rough history of Warhammer 40,000 and you read all the past books of the Horus Heresy, this adds a lot of nice background stuff. A lot of these stories are, if you don't read this, it will not affect your knowledge of anything that happens in the Horus Heresy in the big picture. This is just basically, like I say, this like icing on the cake. It helps you understand organizations more, such as the Custos, the Sisters of Silence, and all. Alright, and how come certain things become they are. Let's say some events happen. If you read these, you will go, that's because of that, But it just adds so much more to the world, Like, it gives you so many more layers. So that's the best thing this book does. Alright, and to give a quick overview, no spoilers, but Blood Games is about the Custodes Legion. You learn a lot more about the Custodes. This one you probably need a lot more grounding in the history. Alright, Wolf at Door is about the Space Wolf Legion and how they is basically, this one is probably the one you need the least context in the Horus Heresy to understand. Just science fiction tropes is fine, but it's basically how a Space Marine Legion of the Emperor basically takes over from diplomacy to war on the planet. Alright, and Scourge of the Storm is about my favorite legion in Horus Heresy, which is the Word Bearers. And this one also, you need quite a bit of, to truly understand the story and the hooks and everything, you probably will need some quite a big grounding in the Horus Heresy. It's about how the Legion is attacking a planet, but the hook leads into how the whole Legion is going the path that they have. Alright, but good story too. The Voice, this one has a lot of plot holes that I never understood in the organization. Like I said, it gives background into the Sisters of Silence. And this is not a spoiler, so I'll say it. I never understood why they had firstly they got vows of silence, which I understand. Then they had to sign, right? They had to do signing and all to talk. But in a battlefield situation, if let's say, what if your hands get blown off? So they say, oh, then you can use a communicator that by which they don't speak, so they don't break the vows of silence, and they have these mechanical clicks. But what if your communicator gets destroyed? Can you speak then? You know, again, for the battlefield situation, it just seems stupid. And because they are anti-psychic, so they can't send psychic messages in case anyone's thinking about it. So again, like you see, you also need context into this. And on top of that, the most important point about the voice, you also need knowledge on the Warhammer 40,000 word of the Sisters of Battle to understand it. So probably the weaker story, but actually if you know the history and everything, it's a good read too. The Call of the Lion is a good story overall, but like I say, the hook, this is the one where I say like the hook, where at the end, when he gives that last line, if you do not understand what will happen to the Dark Angels Legion, it would probably pass you by. Alright, The Last Church. Alright, I'm not going to talk about this because let's just say that I'm going to talk about this last, but this is a must read. After Desha is about Angron after he was taken back from his planet, and how he learns to accept his legion, because the people who he saw as his warriors on the planet he was from basically were all slaughtered and massacred, and he was the only survivor left. So he always carries this guilt and anger. Again, to truly understand that, I feel you need to understand the history, to know the character of Angron. You can read it by itself, but you know, the feeling about what he becomes, again, is knowledge you need from the understanding of the world itself. And let's talk about The Last Church. Absolute must read. It's basically a philosophical debate about religion. I feel it captures the true essence, because it's a short story, it can't give you all the debates, but it does it in a very respectful manner. It gives the main issues of why people choose religion, and then the debates against it. And it's very weird because the debate from atheist side, it kind of is always responding to the religion side. Again, because it's a short story, I understand why he did it. He didn't go back and forth on points. So the priest would say something, and then the the atheist would respond. So in itself, the debate, I feel, is done respectfully, it's done well, it's written well. And the proofs they give and the examples they give are very well done. But on top of that, already great written story on theology, the revelation you get if you understand the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy is amazing in this book. Really, it's one of those jump back moments. In fact, to give a point, I actually forgot I read this book about a year or two ago, or even 3 could be. I totally forgot. I saw this book in someone's home and I lent it thinking I had not read it before. I actually did read it before, but this was actually the one story I did not forget. I was always talking about it, and I said I forgot which book it was in. Then I got it, and then I saw the word The Last Church. I even remember the title. Alright, and this is what reminded me that I read all these stories before. Alright, so this Last Church, if you know the history, must read. Alright, so in conclusion, if you really wanted to and you got this without any knowledge of the Horus Heresy, I would say it's not a bad read. But I feel there are better books out there. But if you do know about the Horus Heresy and the Great Crusade and all, it adds so many... Okay, now I wouldn't say a must read, but it adds so many layers to your knowledge of the organization, like the Custodes, the Sister of Silence, the rift between the Dark Angels Legion and everything. Alright? You come to understand so many other layers below the underlying story that they are telling, the surface story they're telling. Alright, so it's extra knowledge, which is never a bad thing. To me, personally, as a person who likes background and everything, a must read. But truthfully, if you don't read it too, you can still understand the Horus Heresy. Thank you very much. Till next word.